Hello and welcome to another episode of Kill the Small Talk, and I'm your host, Alex Caron. On this podcast, I bring in guests from all walks of the entertainment industry, and we get down to the nuts and bolts. On this episode, I'm talking to Alix Dick. She's an actor, filmmaker, and most recently an author with her latest book, The Cost of Being Undocumented. Here's the episode. Enjoy. Good morning, finally. That was wild. Oh man, if people could just see the behind the scenes.
If
people only knew. This is why editors and people working behind the camera definitely deserve more credit than they actually get.
I couldn't agree more.
I don't know how they do it, but hey, good morning, and I'm glad we finally have you on. So I'm going to introduce you to the two listeners that I have. No, that's not true. There's more. It's like three.
Great.
And this is the first time we meet. So correct me if I'm wrong. So it's because our names are similar. You have an I instead of an E. I'm Alex. You're Alix. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, you said
Alix?
it right.
Alix.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, you said it perfectly. It would have been so easy, right? I don't know why they made my life complicated, but
it could have been easier if you were just another Alex.
That's true. Which, by the way, I love that name, Alex.
Alex, it's what is it? I was gonna say it's a non-binary name. It could be used for anyone.
True. Yeah.
Okay, so Alex, you're from Sinaloa, right? You're from Mexico. Born and raised. You're an actress. You're a producer. I even saw one of your credits on IMDb. You were an art director for a project.
Yeah.
And as of recently, you're an authher.
Yeah. I just became an author a few months ago.
That is insane. Okay, but before we get into that, talk to me about growing up in Sinaloa, with your family in Mexico. What was your upbringing like? What was that like before you guys immigrated to the United States?
Yeah, thank you. Before I say anything, I just want to say thank you so much for being so patient and so kind to have me here. We had a lot of issues to be in this call, but thank God that it worked out. So thank you. So yes, I grew up until I was an adult in Mexico, and I had the most beautiful life. Everything that you can imagine, what it makes a life healthy and peaceful and everything else, I had it when it came to my house or in the place that I grew up in. I had great parents. I have family that loved me, and I never struggled with any type of issues because my parents had the resources and the money to give me a good life. And even though that's Sinaloa, I don't know how familiar you are with it.
A little bit.
Unfortunately, there's like a lot of negativity around that state, which it's actually true, and probably it's worse than what we see in the media. So growing up in Sinaloa, it was pretty much like growing up in a war zone. And I was actually just talking with Jorge in his podcast about this, how by the age of 14 or 15, I already been in the mess of 3 shootings, and I have heard like multiple shootings at night. And it got to a point that even though my parents did the best they could to keep me safe, it got to the point where you cannot go out after 8. You always have to be aware. So I think I grew paranoid and I grew PTSD and other mental issues because of what I went through since I was a kid. But the problem was that you see that so much that at some point it becomes your normality, and you take it as something that everybody goes through, even though it's not true.
It's not true, right? Yeah, it's like it's living in a war zone and a constant fear of, will I make it out today? I can't imagine living under those circumstances. Like with me, like I grew up in Downey, and Downey, I don't know if you're familiar with Downey, but like it's Southeast LA. It's for me, like it was, you could go for a walk at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night, and you'd be okay. You'd make it back home safe.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it's like living like that.
Yeah. No, it was terrifying.
So what did you guys do to get out of that? Like, did you stay in Sinaloa up until you guys immigrated here, or did you guys move from Sinaloa to maybe another state and then to the United States?
So this is where it gets more complicated. My parents were business people, and my dad was doing a huge investment for one of his business. And during that time, my dad made the mistake to do business with a person that he had no idea that was laundering money for the cartel.
Oh.
So, and during that time, the recession was happening, which was 2009, 2008. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm really bad remembering that.
No, that's okay.
So he got into a big debt, paying the banks and paying people that he owed money to, because everything was going downhill economically for everyone, not just for people in Mexico. So he started losing money, and one of the people he wasn't able to pay on time, the investment, was this man who was involved with the cartel. So the cartel started sending death threats, and it became a mess. But at this point, my siblings and I were not aware of what was happening. We were aware that we had security and all those things, but you think because my parents had the resources and the money, you would think, oh, well, that's the normality. I mean, there is shootings every day and kidnaps and all these crazy things. So we never questioned it, and they didn't want to tell us because they didn't know what the next day will look like.
Right, for your safety.
Yeah, of course. And I'm glad that they did it that way, because in a lot of months it wouldn't just make it absolutely worse. But during that time, my parents had the plan to move to another state and try to keep doing business with these people and trying to pay everybody back the money that they own. They were trying to do the right thing. But in that process, my dad passed away. He had 5 tumors in his brain, and the doctor said, your dad has been in the highest levels of stress, and stress pretty much killed him. And because of that, my mom had to tell us they want to kill us. And even if we go to another state, we're not safe, because once you don't have your dad, your safety is absolutely gone. And I don't know how familiar you are with how it is, especially in the state of Sinaloa. Justice doesn't exist. And that's something I hope and wish that people understood, that it doesn't matter. Like, Sinaloa it's a war zone, and nobody recognizes as what it actually is. So, and during that time we had visa, and my mom was like, I feel like we're going to have to move there and, just be there for a little bit. In my head, I'm thinking a week or two, right? Like, to the point that I didn't even pack my laptop or my stuff. I packed for literally 4 days, 4 days, like or 7 days.
Una semana está bien.
Una semana, like, I don't know. I don't know these things, like when you're younger, you have no idea what it entails to and what is going to happen. So I'm thinking, I'm going to come back soon. My life is going to be back, and I have everything there. People that love me, great friends, my school, everything, my church. So when I left, I had no idea. Nobody asked me if that's what I wanted to do. Nobody said, like, you should, or what is your opinion? It was more about survival. And we pretty much fled the cartel. And that this is the reason why I'm alive. And I'm fully convinced that regardless of how much I have suffered in this country, which is pretty crazy to say, I don't think I had a better choice. And regardless of everything that I've seen and experienced here, I couldn't be more grateful to have this country, which is like a conflicted feeling that I feel like a lot of us have.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm alive because of this country.
That is insane. And to leave your home, your, like you said, like your friends and your extended family, the life that you had there, and to think you were only going to be gone for a few days, and now you've realized, oh, like, we're going to be gone for a while, but it's for your own protection, for your own good, for your own safety, and for those for the safety of those around you, and then to move to a whole other country, completely different culture, a completely different language. Like, not a lot of people could process that. And I think that's where people lack empathy to immigrants who feel like they have no choice but to leave their own homes, so they could, be alive.
Yep.
I can't imagine that. And that, that is insane. And with everything going on right now with these, ICE raids and the killings of, Renee Good and Alex Preddy and Porter and so many people in ICE custody, like, it makes me so sad. And anyways,
I know.
but despite all that, you're here now, and I assume, so are you in Los Angeles?
Yes, I live in Los Angeles.
You live in Los Angeles. And then, okay, so to make things brighter, so you escaped that, you survived, you're alive. What got you into acting? Like, what was like, hey, I'm in Los Angeles. Like, was it like, this is where they make movies, I'm gonna make movies too? Like, is that how that happened? Or
Which is very funny that you mentioned that, because when I decided to become an actor, it was never about me wanting to act. It was more about me being a better director and a better producer and a better art director and all of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to speak the actor's language because, I know my life is very, it's very layered, and it's hard to explain all the things that I do because I do a lot of different things.
Multi-talented.
Multi-talented. So one of the things that I was doing a few years ago before I moved to LA, I didn't even live in LA when I decided to do this, I was trying to adapt my story into a TV series, and I was talking to big platforms that were very interested in pitching in. And so I was like, I need to become a director because I don't want people's hands in this project that is so valuable. It's about my dad. And in those meetings, I realized that even though that I know one thing or two about filmmaking, I had no idea how actors think and other elements that usually might not be so accessible for directors. I want to have that. So I started getting involved in it, and I realized that I love doing it, not because I wanted to become a famous actor. That was not in my head. It was more about practice something and do it well. And that's how I got in contact with it. I acted in a few projects. I loved it, but I knew that was not my thing. It was more about creating my own stuff, my TV series, my movies, my filmmaking. While I was in a school, I was studying general law. So everything I was doing, even though that it didn't look connected, was connected because I have always been all about justice, not knowing that life would take me where I'm at, and not know that I was gonna drop out of college 3 times because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I feel you. I did too. I dropped out 3 times.
Really? 3 times too?
3
Look at us.
3 times until I discovered an acting conservatory, which I fell in love with. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today without that training.
I'm so glad that you found your way. Sometimes that's something that I also try to tell people. Sometimes our plans don't work out the way that we expected, but then maybe in that process, we're going to find our true calling. And I still want to become a lawyer. I still think someday I'll be able to pay for my school. But for now, I have been able to use that justice advocacy that I've been having for so long since I was a kid to use it in other ways. But the crazy part is that the people that I used to advocate for, I became part of them. And that's something that I hope and wish that people get from my story, is that sometimes we become what we think we understand, but we actually don't. I knew that immigrants deserve dignity, and I advocated for people with DACA and like the DREAM Act, all of that when I was documented, and never thought in million years that I would end up here. And how dangerous it is for us to think that tragedy is never going to hit us. I had the perfect life, and look at me now. Everything can change in a matter of seconds. And like how important it is to see life not only through your privilege and your own lenses, but through that reality that tragedy can hit us at any time.
Any moment.
And your life can change in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, and that, that's the thing. They say life is fragile, that life is precious, and enjoy every moment you have, because you never know.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster. Life is a roller. They say what most people think like success looks like, and it's like a straight line. It's like absolutely not. Like life is just like you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this one thing, and then something happens. You're like, oh shoot, and then it spirals and it goes into something else, and then like when I was younger, I've always wanted to be an actor and to make movies and to be involved in it. But I was surrounded by educators in my family, and that was like sort of pressed onto me. So at one point, like I was going to school. I was studying political science and theater, and I wanted to maybe be a politician or maybe like teach anthropology and while, using theater as well. But then like that changed, and then I dropped out and I did music, and then I found acting again. And it's crazy. Like you don't know where life will take you.
And you know what? It's also not only about tragedy. I also think that people who are multi-talented and had a lot of different dreams, sometimes, this is going to sound really bad, but sometimes I wish I was only good at one thing. I'm not saying that I'm excellent at everything. I'm not saying that, because I'm not. But having a lot of different outlets can also be difficult. I'd rather be to master just one thing and focus on that, but my brain goes in a lot of different ways. But how can I just use justice and advocacy in everything I do? That's what I've been trying to do. And this is the exact reason why the book exists in the first place, because that was another outlet that I have, which is writing, and which is something that I love. But to be honest, I'm even upset that this book exists. I want to write books, but not this book. A book where I'm trying to convince people undocumented people are human and they deserve dignity is just wild to me that this has to exist.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like I was talking to a friend, and we were both like, how insane the fact that all this shit is happening. And in the Constitution, it says all people, doesn't matter if you're documented or not. Anyone who's in the United States deserves due process. So in this book that you have, The Cost of Being Undocumented, you collaborated with Stanford professor Antero. Antero, am I saying his name correctly? Antero?
Yes, you're saying it right. Yep.
Antero Garcia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it right.
So how did that happen? How did you go about like wanting to collaborate with him? Like, were you taking a class with him, or you knew him personally, or?
No. So many years ago, I don't even remember how many years ago, I met him because I was looking for a family to babysit, and he has twins. He has two little girls. And when I met them, the babies were like 4 months, I believe. And I was looking for a full-time position because, as you know, to find a job in without a social is incredibly difficult. So these are the jobs that are available, right? And jobs that I'm not quite understand why people are fighting about. I'm sure that people will not survive 1 week. And not to say that it's not a rewarding job, but it is. But it's also very difficult, And that's how I met Professor Antero. And I worked with them for a few years, and we got very close because of that job. And a little before I finished working for them, which I stayed with them for like 3.5 years, something like that, or 4 years, I don't remember. We became very close. So he came to me trying to collaborate in social justice research. And when he did, I was like, I think we can, but it would be difficult for me to do it while I work for you, because it's very difficult to admit it, but the power dynamics always make things more difficult, So I told him, like, I would rather wait for us until I'm done. We can work on this. And he's been Professor Antero has been truly one of the biggest blessings I ever had in my life. And he's been very supportive. And when the opportunity of making the book happen, it came organically. We were not seeking to write a book. I was going to write my own book, but I thought that having a professor as influential as he is would be convenient for me, just because I've been speaking about these issues. I've been involved in social justice for a very long time, and I feel like he was the missing element that I had. So that's how it came out, and we went working for many years. I don't even remember how many years, and we have done multiple projects, and I just couldn't be more grateful to have his help.
That's amazing. And so this is how many projects is this with him?
Well, one of the projects that we have done, it's called La Cuenta. It's a Substack where we told the cause of what it means to be undocumented.
I saw that.
We've been doing that for many years, and truly it has been because Antero goes to bed really late editing and talking to people, and that's one of our biggest projects that we have done. And La Cuenta started first, and then after we started doing it, we got the opportunity to publish a book together, and the book took 4 or 5 years to make. It was not an easy project to do, because if it was only a memoir, it would have been easier, but we wanted to bring into the team the lead voices in research in this country. So it would be more believable and would be more informative for people who actually wanted to understand the system in a better way. And then that's why we combined a memoir with social science and research.
Right. And so here's my question, because I'm such a huge fan of history, especially the history of the Americas, and and even pre-colonization, before the Europeans arrived, when it was purely all the indigenous nations. I have such a huge fascination with how far back in time and in your research did you have to go that you remember? Was there a particular era? Did you guys go back to the 60s, civil rights movement, or even prior to that? Or
I think it would depend on every topic, depending on what time it was required. And I'm sure that we didn't cover everything that we needed to cover, but don't worry, we're writing another book because it was almost impossible trying to pull all the information. So it would depend on the issue that we were touching on, but it was a lot of focusing on what I've been through, just because of the sake of a memoir, And we didn't want to go too far if it wasn't necessary.
Right.
That's why I'm saying the next books would be more historical, we will have more of those elements. But for the sake of being a memoir, we just focus on what we're living currently. And sometimes we will go back a little bit in time, but later we might. We might go very deep.
Yeah, no. And these are questions, because obviously I was just introduced to you maybe a couple days ago, when Jorge, our mutual friend, reached out to me and told me about you, and you can't see it, but I have a shelf right here filled with books about music and history and theater and art, and so I can't wait to order it and actually read it.
That is very kind of you.
So, no, yeah, I mean it. I learned about you that you also host writing and teaching workshops, right, related to storytelling and social justice.
Yeah, I do.
And is that something you're still doing?
Yes and no, because right now I feel like it has been very difficult to do projects in person, and I've been and honestly I have to say that Antero has been such a champ, because a lot of times he goes and flies to Texas and other places to bring the book to events that we get invited to
promote it.
And we have said no so many times. It's insane. And I'm so grateful that he's always like been so kind to me and not make me feel guilty that this book had the potential to be greater than it is. But there is a lot of limitations that I have. So we have been to different universities. We have spoke at Stanford University, UC Irvine, many other places that I don't recall right now, but many other places we've been invited and have done writing workshops or talk about social justice. And it's something that we're not going to stop. It's just very difficult at this moment to know which one is the next one, even though that we have invites. We don't know if it's safe for me to go to them.
I hear you. Yeah, that's tough. But I can't imagine also like the excitement about being invited to so many things, and now you have to tell people no. Now it's switched. Now it's not people telling you no. Now it's you're telling them no.
I hope not to get in. You know, I hope not to get in trouble with what I'm gonna say because we even got invited to Harvard to go this year. I believe in April, and that's one of the places that I always wanted to go. And I don't know if it's gonna happen. I think Antero is gonna fly by himself. And he feels bad. That's the worst part. Like he feels bad to go without me. But I'm like, you're representing me. And if I have to sum in, I would. And that was one of my dreams to go to Harvard just because I have always loved that school. But it's like all these dreams that I feel like I'm taking from him just because I'm not able to go. But unfortunately, this is the reality of the world. Could be worse, and we take it as it is. We take the day one day, but we have not stopped writing, and we also have written multiple op-eds for different newspapers in the country, including the San Francisco Chronicles.
Wow.
So the work that we're doing looks in a lot of different ways, but we have never stopped. We have not stopped, and even though that I've been dealing with a lot of mental health issues lately with everything happening and pretty much being at home and not being able to even grocery shop, it's still not stopped one day. And I'm struggling to do it. But at the end of the day, I know that this is what, whenever it's the most difficult to do, this is a time that we cannot stop, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like people I know, people in my circle have also, talked about their mental health. Like my mental health is crazy right now. Like I'm really honestly like I'm very worried about like, just my fellow humans that reside here, that live here. And I'm half Latino, so like, so I understand it. And I understand that I do have privilege too. Like I'm a male. I'm also half white. Like, like I get that I have privilege, and I see that, and I want to be able to use that to my advantage to help those who have, less than me. And if I can advocate for those people through social media and share resources and, then I'm going to do that. But there are still times where I'm like, I feel like I could do so much more,
Yeah.
And a lot of people around me, I think, feel the same way.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm so glad to hear that that's the way you feel. But don't ever feel that what you do is little, because it's not. Imagine if the 11 million of documented people thought that their voice didn't matter, we wouldn't be doing anything to defend our neighbors and to defend our communities. But anything that we do, even you is bringing me in your podcast, is a huge deal, because this is a time where they want to erase everything about us, including our stories. And for you to give me the outlet to have these horrible and like very hard conversations, you are doing a lot, And like, I would never want people to think that whatever you do matters and whatever you do is necessary and valuable,
Right. Yeah. You're right. You're right. I do have to change my mentality about things, but it's tough,
Yeah.
But and I see that you've worked with obviously multiple immigrant rights organizations, and I saw that you were named 2023's Artist Disruptor by the Center for Cultural power. What do you think they mean by that?
I
Artist disruptor. I kind of like that.
I think they're the sweetest and more and most supportive. I don't quite understand that term, to be quite honest with you. I do believe that they value what I do and what I bring to the table. I have, and I'll be very honest with you, I have said a few times, I do not like being called activist. I have never liked that because I feel like people have different ways to understand what activism is. And I feel like people have said, well, she's not marching and she's not there in person. Like, she shouldn't be called an activist. I'm like, I have never called myself anything. I'm a researcher. I've been studying these topics. I've been speaking about these topics, but I'm not, like, I'm not trying to put myself in a box because that would be a big mistake, And, so an artist disruptor, it's a wonderful definition. I feel like I do what I do, but I'm not trying to say that I'm anything, but I'm honored and like very grateful that people talk about my work and people consider what I do as special. Thank you. I feel like all of us should be doing it. But yeah, so I feel like I'm just afraid for people to think that I'm taking, like credits from where it's not. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with names.
I feel you. I was uncomfortable with names too. I was uncomfortable being called Short King, but now, now I'm not. Different. Now I take the name back, and now I'm like, you know what? I am a short king.
Short kings are
cool. Short kings are in. Look, some of the best actors are short kings. Michael J. Fox, Matthew Broderick, Tom Cruise, Daniel Radcliffe. They're all like 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah, I mean, I'm
and those guys are powerhouses.
I'm nearly a midget, but I know I'm a beast inside.
we're tiny but mighty. No, but that's what right. You're talking about, I think, with like writing your book and then working on projects that highlight stories of social injustice and, and exposing corruption and I believe that these are forms of activism. Art has been used time and time again for to speaking out against injustices and speaking out against imperialism and capitalism and other forms of oppression and supremacy and have even artist projects, you could say, have started their own cultural revolutions and have made change.
Yeah.
Right? Like, look what happened I think it was in Chile in the 70s when the dictator, I can't remember his name, but he like had all like the famous like actors and artists and people of that time like killed. That just goes to show you how powerful
Pinochet?
Art is.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, him. Yeah. That motherfucker.
I was gonna say, I cannot even mention his name without wanting to burp. Yeah, it's crazy to think that social justice can look in a lot of different ways, and thankfully we have art, and I feel like that's how people connect the most. I wish that people connected more with books because books have so much to offer, but I know that it's not the most popular one. But I feel like at this age, people are realizing that books have a lot of value to add to society. So hopefully we write more books where people feel connected to it.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of which, that was going to be my next kind of question. It's a good segue. You are also the co-editor and co-founder of La Cuenta, like you mentioned, which is an online publication centering perspectives of individuals who are labeled undocumented. And my question to you was, how did that come to life? How did that start?
Yeah, sure. Me and Antero were writing lots of op-eds, like I mentioned earlier, for different newspapers, but because we thought that that was a perfect opportunity for us to open the conversation about immigration, even before things got this bad. And we were doing it for a few years. And one day he came with the idea to publish our own stuff. So we opened that space for people who wanted to write their own books and to write their own stories, who were immigrants and didn't have the opportunity to these outlooks that I do because of Antero, to give them a space to have these hard conversations, and also conversations about immigrant success as well. Not only the sad parts, but also the good parts, and stories of success, stories of like people writing books and writing op-eds and doing social work, doing research. We wanted to have a space for them. So Antero came with the idea to create that space. And when he did that, I was like, I already have too much on my plate trying to get this story on TV, writing a book because a book was not published yet. I was like, I don't think I have that in me to do it. And he was like, I feel like we should try it for 1 month and see how it goes. I think he tricked me in, because if I'm honest with you, I thought it was way too much work. La Cuenta, it's a lot of work, and I hope that people understand that we do it because we sincerely love immigrants and we sincerely believe that people deserve this space, but it's not an easy job. And Antero, in the most honest way, I'll tell you that the heaviest of this work goes to Antero. He does a lot of editing and a lot of different research and network for it. We both work really hard on it, but I love to give him credit where it's deserved, you know? And now it's almost been 3 years. We have never stopped, not even for 1 week, even when there has been catastrophic events in our lives. We were going through the fires in LA, and that week I told Antero, we shouldn't. And he's like,
a year ago.
I think we should. I think we should. So I just gotta say that the reason we haven't stopped is because of Antero.
Yeah, shout out Antero. I mean, the man behind the curtain, really, or actually now in front of the curtain, because he's traveling around all over.
Yeah. No, and he was also... I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go for it.
He was also named that he hates when I say things about him, but it is what it is. It's not my fault. He was just recently named the president in education for professors in the United States. So I couldn't be more grateful to be in collaboration with a man who truly has not time to eat lunch and that's a lot for our social justice and for the things that we do together.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so we've now entered sort of like the midway part of the podcast, and I have this segment called This or That. So I'm going to ask you just a rapid, set of questions, and you let me know what you prefer. And if it makes you think of something that happened in your life, or like a story or something funny you could say, feel free to interrupt me, okay? Okay, so here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Pizza or burgers?
Burgers.
Ooh, okay, me too. Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Ice cream? I like having ice cream on a cone or a sundae?
Sunday. Every day.
Sunday every day. Cats or dogs?
Oh. Ooh, dogs. That was hard.
Dogs.
I love them both.
Okay. I know, I do too. If I could own a pet, I'd probably own a cat, because right now my life is like all over the place, and I would not be able to give a dog the full attention it deserves. Whereas a cat lives kind of more independently and can take care of itself. But unfortunately, I cannot have cats where I'm at. And I'm allergic. Okay, how about cumbia or mariachi?
Oh, mariachi. I'm sorry, guys.
Mariachi or banda?
Oh my God. Don't banda. Banda. I'm from Sinaloa. What do you want us to say?
Banda or rock en español?
Banda.
Banda. Ah, okay. One time my mom and I were at this Mexican restaurant, and I think it was in Linwood, and we're having lunch, and there was this cumbia band playing. We're like, oh yeah, hell yeah. And we love, my mom's from Mexico City for context. So cumbia is huge, especially sonideros, which is like what they were playing.
Yeah.
Which is a type of cumbia for the listeners. We're listening, we're kind of like dancing a little bit too. The band plays, and then all of a sudden another band comes in, and it's these guys carrying these like big instruments like tubas and horns, and the drummer just has a snare and maybe like a one cymbal, and we both looked at each other. We were like, oh no. And it was all of a sudden we're like, it was just so loud, and it was, yeah, that's banda for you. And my mom, who's from Mexico City, like did not grow up listening to like banda music. Their thing was mariachi, cumbia, and rock. Like that's such like a Mexican city thing.
I love
so like
them
we
all
just didn't
too,
grow up with that music. So her and I left. I felt bad, but we're like, I can't stand this.
Maybe it was too loud, because banda can be very loud.
You know what? That's true. I think it was just too loud, because I've heard banda where it was like not as loud. I was like, oh, this is actually like very nice, and it's like calm, and you could like sway a little bit too. But yeah, like in that moment, I was like, ay güey, vámonos.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Do you? Okay, here we go. Okay, let's continue. A beach vacation or a mountain retreat?
Beach vacation.
Cake or pie?
Cake. I'm crazy.
Conchas or donuts?
Conchas.
Conchas. Cerveza o vino?
Neither.
Neither?
I don't like any.
Ah, okay.
No.
That's fair. Okay. Books or movies?
Ooh. Ugh. I like them both, but let's say movies.
Both. Okay, you have no preference. Both. Summer or winter?
Winter, any day.
Winter
is my
TikTok or Instagram? Winter's your
Instagram.
Yeah, I recently deleted my TikTok because
I'm about to delete mine. That's why. I mean, we both know, right? Like, we're not gonna get into it.
Yeah.
But, but I would say Instagram.
It's not good. Yeah, Instagram, like, even though it's owned by Meta now and Facebook, and I have my issues with them, but yeah. Okay. Board games or video games?
Video games.
Video games. Do you prefer action movies or comedy movies?
Action movies.
Do you prefer physical copies of books, or are you like an e-reader?
Physical copies.
Physical copies. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person. Every single day.
Morning person. Would you prefer a 5 a.m. call time to be on set, or a 5 p.m. call time?
5 a.m. every day.
5 a.m., yeah, me too. Yep. I've never done Yeah, I've never done like a late night shoot before that went into like, the next morning. I've never done that. I've done late shoots where it went to like 10, 11, PM or like midnight, but I haven't stayed past that before. All the things I've done for film and stuff has always been like, 4:30 a.m. call time, 5 a.m. call time, 6 a.m.
But that's pretty cool if you go to bed early.
Yeah, which I tend to be in bed by like 10, 11 now, whereas I used to stay up like much later and go to sleep at like 1 or 2 in the morning. I can't do that anymore. It's like 10,
No,
I'm
I
like
can,
yawning. Yeah,
I
no,
can, I
no, no,
cannot be in
gracias.
love.
Okay, so that's the end of this or that. I wanted to ask you some questions about like film and acting. So again, so I know you mentioned that you like never wanted to like being an actress to be like famous, which me too. Like I've never wanted to be like, I'm going to do this so I can get famous. No, it's been like I want to do this because, I love the psychology of humans, and I'm a huge anthropology nerd, and I love studying, the human language or languages rather, and emotion and psychology and all that stuff. So that's what got me into acting. And for yourself, I know you mentioned that you wanted to be an actress so that you can get into the actor's mind and develop like more sympathy for when you like direct things and when you're doing other things like a producer or a writer, so that you, because I think you're right, like a really great director um knows, not necessarily is good at everything that is like in a film project, but knows enough to sympathize with everyone and be more patient with everyone, and have empathy and stuff, which I feel like you correlate to a lot, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, I don't think necessarily that you have to be excellent at all of those things. I just feel like
Mm-hmm.
connecting with the actor's mind is very. The actors speak a different language than not a lot of people might understand. I didn't until I became one, you know. So I think, at least
Mm-hmm.
personally, for me, was the greatest thing that I could do when it comes to do my own art, and I'm sure that for other people might not be that necessary, but for me it was. And I would advise people who are trying to get into filmmaking to look into that.
Yeah. Yeah. I full-heartedly agree with you, and like I still want to like work as an actor like professionally, and like have like that be like my main thing. But I've also learned, like after making my first short film, that and I've talked about this on this podcast before, but not to you. So I wanted to mention that like I found out that I actually love producing as well, and and that I do have producer skills. I know
Wow.
I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at finding resources. Um, and I'm good at building relationships with people, genuine relationships. So like I want to produce more, and like and now and I also co-wrote this project that I made too. So like now I'm trying to understand uh uh how to become a writer more, but it's tough because, and I wanted to talk to you about like for me, I get into my head a lot. Like if I'm ever like trying to force myself to sit down and write something, I can never think of anything. But when I'm out and about doing life stuff, all of a sudden that's when the ideas come. Does that resonate with you like at all?
Yeah, no, it does. It does because I do struggle a lot to sit down still and do one thing for a few hours. I have like attention deficiency, like really bad. Um, so what I have done that has worked really well for me is whenever I get an idea, I always carry a note and a pen, just because I know that how my brain
Mm.
works. If I force it, it doesn't happen, but it naturally
Yep.
happens, you know? And I love writing on a notebook more than I write typing. I feel like it's more emotional and I get better ideas. So whenever you have a
It's
slash
therapeutic.
moment
Mm-hmm.
to of a great idea, write it down. Write it down and then go back to it when you feel it again, but don't force it,
Yeah.
because also forcing nothing good comes out of forcing things, you know? Especially ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. I can, yeah, relate to that a lot, because I play music as well, and if I sit down and like try to write something on my guitar, just nothing comes out. But if I'm out and about again doing live stuff, all of a sudden, like, I'll think of a guitar riff. And I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And then I'll pick up my phone and like hum it into my phone. And then I'll come back later that day and like try to figure out what I was playing. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I was doing.
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea too for music.
For music, yeah. Do you have any? What are some of your like when you were growing up? What movies were you watching, or what were, you know, who did you look up to? Like what did you what did you like, and do you still enjoy the stuff that you enjoyed as a kid, as far as like film and television?
Yeah. I would say that I'm very particular in everything. I'm just a very particular person in everything. I'll just be honest. So for me, I couldn't just watch trash TV. I was always like careful about the things that I wanted to watch, which is like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I have always loved action, and I have always loved, this is gonna sound really bad, like violence in shows, you know. I'm a Scarface girl. I'm sorry. That's what it is. And for somebody who is very particular,
okay.
yeah, for somebody who is very particular, you would think that doesn't make any sense, and I agree. But my favorite show for my entire life is Breaking Bad. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Breaking Bad universe, but I love Avengers. I love X-Men. So those are the things that I have always loved, and I think I'll die loving. But I think my gem is Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I don't have nothing bad to say about those.
Okay, don't virtually kill me, but I've only seen the first season of Breaking Bad. And let me tell you why.
You gotta get on that.
I know I do. Let me tell you why. Because I was watching it. I think I started watching it like during the pandemic, and like during the pandemic with all that, you know, all the political stuff that was going on then too. I was just like, I can't watch violence. I can't watch horror right now. And that's when I discovered shows like Schitt's Creek. I was like, oh, like this is what I need. And that's why Schitt's Creek did so well, is because people were not wanting to watch violence and horror and death on TV. They wanted relief. They wanted to laugh. So Schitt's Creek became like #1, and then like swept the, like, I think the Golden Globes, and, you know, and all that stuff. And so yeah, so now like going back, I know I do have to watch it. I actually know, so the actress Ray Seahorn, who was in Better Call Saul, she was one of the board of directors for my acting conservatory I went to, and like my teacher is like really good friends with her, and even like has a show with her right now. I think it was on AMC. So shout out to Ray Seahorn and David Connolly. Yeah, I would love if I could talk to her.
Yeah, no, that would be amazing. Let me know if you do, and let her know that I love her with all my heart.
He actually, I think we were in class one day, and I forget what the context was, but he was able, like, he had a photo of her, oh, I think it was, they were like on set together, and she was like going over her lines and all her notes, and on her script you could see that it's like, it's highlighted with like different colors. It's like gold here and blue here and yellow here and green. And she had all these like side notes and stuff. And he was like, this is crazy. So he's like, hey, can I take a like picture of this? And I think she said, yeah. And he like showed it to me, and he was like, look, like this is the amount of work that she like, you know, goes through to like, you know, to really delve into a scene.
And you can tell that she's a incredible, fascinated actor. You can tell that she's great.
Yeah. I always say, like, if your script doesn't have a coffee stain on it, like, how much are you reading your script?
I agree.
How good are you at getting off book? If it's not ripped and like marked and has coffee stains, and, you know, it's like, are you even using it?
And tears. I agree with that. Absolutely.
Do you like, as a I saw in your credits that you produced what were these? It was Norjack, right? Norjack, about
Yes.
a mystery man who hijacks a Boeing 727 aircraft in 1971. I was going to ask you, I would love to see these projects that you work on. Are they out anywhere? Can we watch them anywhere? Are they streaming? YouTube?
Right now, they are just on festivals, which is unfortunate. But
Okay.
at some point this year, we might see them in Amazon Prime and other platforms. But as of right now, it's only in festivals, unfortunately. But we're gonna get there.
Okay. No, that's great. I saw that. What was that place you guys? It was Air Hollywood.
Yeah, that was so much
Right,
fun.
where you
That is
guys
one
filmed
of
it
my
mostly?
favorite
Yeah,
projects.
what was?
Yeah, they pretty
Yeah,
much put together.
tell me about it. Tell me about making it.
Yeah, it pretty much I love that we did it in that place, because a lot of the Hollywood movies, that big movies that have been shot there, we had the opportunity to be part of it, and we were like, what the hell? Like, it was a huge place where there were like 20 airplanes with different designs, each one of them. And when you go
Right, from
in, the
different
airplane is
eras.
like a real airplane that they designed it for specifically for the movie that we were making. And that was pretty crazy to see that process, to change the seats and to change the carpet and all of that, just for one project. To me, that was fascinating, because just to think that when we're watching movies, we don't realize the amount of detail that a movie has to sacrifice, and like the million people and the million ideas and little tiny details that matter in a movie, it's magical to me to think, wow, like when I'm watching a movie, I don't think I appreciate these details as much as I do when I'm making them, which is wild, right? Like I feel like my perspective about filmmaking has definitely changed over time, because I know what it requires to do any type of project, even doing a podcast, like how much sacrifices and how much time it entails.
Right. And so you were a producer on this project, right?
Yeah.
What was tell me a little bit about producing it, because again, like, I've only produced one short film, and I'm still discovering the skills that I do have and that I maybe need to have as a producer. Is there anything, maybe like a piece of advice you could give me about producing film projects?
Yeah, sure.
And for those who
I
want
feel
to
like,
produce too and write and
yeah. No, absolutely. Which, by the way, I would advise people to never think that their story is bad. That would be the first thing. If you are trying to create and direct and produce your own shows and your own stuff that you have created, to never overlook your projects, because I went through that season too, where I was like, I don't think I'm good at what I'm doing. And that kept me down for a very long time, until I realized that there is people who are going to love it, and there's people who won't. It's just a matter of taste. So everything is valuable. And when it comes to producing it, I feel that the most important skill is to be good under pressure. And maybe this is not the answer that people were expected to hear from me, but I would say to be great under pressure is wonderful, because when you have that clarity in your head, you make better decisions. I've been very stressed out for very different reasons, and I have made a lot of mistakes out of being stressed. So I would say, have clarity in what you're doing, be organized, be willing to go the extra mile to talk to people, to network. That is the best thing that you can do, because sometimes as a producer, you are good at organizing and having everything on track, but you are not good at technical issues. So this is where it comes, that your ability to network with people who are better at doing the tasks that you are not. That's what makes you a great producer. Knowing when you can delegate the things that you are not able to do. And that's what it's been very helpful for me to be. I'm not good at everything, like I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of different things. I don't excel at everything, but I do know how to ask for help. And I do know that there is people who are excellent at what I'm lacking, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I truly agree with what you're saying, because like as a producer, I've had to like reach out to people like there may be something I'm not particularly good at, but I know a friend of mine is, and I'm going to reach out to them. And if they can't do it, maybe they know someone, or maybe they could, I've asked like, hey, I know you're good at this, and if you can't help me out, that's fine. But like, could you just like, talk with me for like 10 minutes and tell me a little bit about it, so maybe I could learn how to do it and get better at said skill. And I understand that as a leader, as someone who's kind of, overseeing everything on a project, is to have an open mind and to be able to know where other people's strengths are at. Like, for example, like the art in my short film, like as far as like when we did some like the little advertising that we did and like our logo and stuff. I have an aunt. She shout out Esmeralda. She is a great graphic designer. And I told my director, I was like, hey, like I have a family member. She's great at graphic designing, and we'll reach out to her. And sure enough, she was able to help us create like posters that we use for like advertising and logos. Bless you. And salud.
Thank you so much.
And it turned out great. It turned out really great. But I knew that she had that talent, and I'm so happy that she was able to work with us.
And that's a skill that sometimes we overlook. And I think Jorge Cholalpa is wonderful at it. He's very good at seeing the skills that people have that they might not be aware of. I feel like that's one of the things that I have always told him, like, you're really good at seeing value in different elements that you need for your projects. And I think that you have that too. And that is not a small skill to have. I have known people who do not have that skill, I tell you. No offense.
Well, no, none taken. I know, and I can't wait until I get a chance to work with Jorge on a project. But hey, Alix, it's been great talking to you, and again, thank you so much for being on here and letting us step into your life. And this is your moment to plug in anything you have that you're working on. So feel free to tell the listeners that, where we could find you at, or, where we could get your book at. And
sure. Thank you so much for listening to us. And yes, you can find me on Substack, La Cuenta, which is Santeros and I Substack, and I'm also on Instagram. My name is Alix Dick. You can find me there. I'm about to delete my TikTok, unfortunately. You can find me in all that. You can find my book. It's so complicated. I'm sorry, guys. It's so complicated for me to tell you that my book is on Spotify and different platforms that, why we are conflicted about it. But you can find it on Amazon. Yep. You can find it on Barnes & Noble, Penguin Random House. And if you prefer to listen to it, you can find it on Spotify or audiobook. It's right there. I truly appreciate your support and all the love that people have given to this book. I'm also writing some TV series that I'll tell you more about when I have a better idea what's going on. But yeah, so keep me on the loop. I'll give you guys more things and more fire projects.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. And hopefully I get to meet you in person. I would love to. I'd love to hang out. Maybe you,
that
me, and
would be
Jorge
amazing. That would be amazing. We totally should. Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate you all the time.
Bailar.
Yeah,
thanks.
Do whatever.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you'll get notifications when new episodes drop. Thanks to my guest, Alix Dick. Music by Mark Fabian. Produced and engineered by Robert Altschuler. Recorded at Command Recording Studios. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Kill the Small Talk Podcast and at Command Creative Studios. We'll see you next time. Bye.